And those are my colleagues, right? Keeping interrupting me. Come on.
We argue with each other all the time. But I'm going to reflect it back to here. The happy eyeballs things is fantastic for making, for hiding this problem from the user, which makes your job twice as hard. Because users aren't going to call up and say, ouch, right? You're just V6 is going to be bad, and you've got to really deploy monitoring and metrics and these kind of stuff because you can't rely on help desk calls anymore. So it's a give and a take there.
That's where the next one is. That's all about tools that aren't there.
Oh, sorry. I keep doing that. You are like, okay, here.
You are cheating. You are reading the slides, Mark. So, by the way, for service provider, looks like it's improving, except for the retail market. As for IPSLA, and as for the peering and the routing tables, that should be the good trick. So, regarding management and all the tools, so Mark, you explained a few issues there. But asking Ron, how have you done the tooling and the management? Because you started a long time ago.
Yeah, I can say a few things about management. We started an initiative 2006, 2007. The idea was our management LAN, which is a security LAN separate from all the other networks, it's isolated. Wouldn't this be an interesting place to try IPv6 only and use something like ULA, but not translate it? There's no NAT, no translation. It doesn't have to get to the outside. It's strictly isolated. So let's try that. The problem we had was you could not do IPv6 management to most products, and so we had an initiative, worked with lots of vendors, identified all the problems, worked many years to get them fixed, and actually made a lot of progress in that area. The new problem has been, now that we got V6 working everywhere, we want to turn off V4 because it's all been dual stack. Whole new set of problems. One example we found just a couple weeks ago was when you turn off IPv4, actually remove the line IP address and then the address line, remove that, the last V4 thing you remove out of particular switch router vendor's products. The products think that they're still running IPv4 with an address of 0.0.0.0, okay? And when they happen to have an incoming IP subnet broadcast, you know, where the layer 2 address is FFFFF, they actually respond to that, but they don't know who the source is, so they try ARPing from 0.0.0.0. And so you sort of see these, you know, big flaps, broadcast nonsense, and so you almost can't turn off V4. And so we're finding new bugs like that. It used to be make V6 work. Now the new thing is make turning off IPv4 work. So that's some of the things we're dealing with. But at least for doing V6 management, we're getting really close. There's still some vendors, older stuff, that doesn't support it yet. On IP address management, the big thing for us was how are you going to get everything in DNS? You know, are you going to type in those PTR records, the Quad A records, and so forth? So you want a tool. What we normally do is something like DHCP with DNS update, and it automatically takes care of itself. But when your world is XP and old versions of Mac OS X and so forth, which don't have a DHCP v6 client, you can't do that. That can't be your solution. So we wanted to use Slack. And Slack is great because actually Slack gets you an address much faster than DHCP. So machines were coming up on the net quicker, clients were. So that was cool, this auto-addressing feature. So how do you get everything in DNS? Well, you can write a script that goes to the router, say every 10 minutes or something like that, pulls the ARP cache and pulls the neighbor discovery table. You do a join, and so you can get the mapping from V4 to V6. If you have the V4 info, you can look up the PTR record. You know it's fully qualified host name. You automatically jam it in by doing dynamic DNS update. Automatically, everything is populated with V6. Very slick, very simple. So you don't need to have all these other extra management tools. It just kind of comes for free if you have a script like that. So,
can you put that in our products for us?
well, on the main data network, we're doing dual stack. So, and in the management network, everything is strictly, you know, locked down manual. So we don't have the problem that you brought up. But yes, we have to think about that eventually.
Sylvia, anything to add regarding this lack of management or tool, or what's your perception when your customers are deploying?
Well, what I see as the customers that I currently work with are mostly in the planning stage. That's now not so much an issue yet. Although, so one thing I think is important to see is that in this planning stage, many customers, I mean, they look around, they search the web, they hear all these stories, war stories about management and security. And the danger I see in that is that sometimes they feel like they should design around bugs. So I say, don't base your architecture, your long-term design based on bugs that are around today. one reason to start early is because, as we heard in so many examples, that sometimes it takes like 3-4 years to fix something with an ISP or a vendor. And yes, sure, these times will become shorter as we move along, but you should not base your design on that, right? So you have to find workarounds if you need them because you're already in the deployment stage. But if you're in the planning stage, you're not going to say, well, I'm not going to take that into my architecture because it's not working. I say, well, we have to expect that our vendors get this working. So, and that applies also to the management thing, you know, if customers say, well, we can't plan for IPv6 because there aren't enough management tools out there, I say, well, that's not a reason to that's a reason to move on now, you know, and make your vendors aware of what your needs are.
Okay, thank you. Yannick, you grabbed the mic, so I think it's to say something.
I guess we have to be pragmatic with regard to these tools. And when the product, I'm going to put myself on the product team side, when they have a long laundry list of RFCs, which features should they do first? And to be honest with Ron, IPv6 only is like way down the bottom. They want to go for feature parity, then they'll get to v6 only. And if the workaround is just to put the loopback address, the IPv4 loopback address, so everybody is happy on that box, well, that's good enough for now. So yes, we need to push the boundaries, and the tools are getting there, and that visibility of this, you know, network as being not just v4, not just v6, but both, is very critical. But v6 only, in my humble opinion, we need to get to v4, v6 first.
Yeah, I mean, we're still running DECnet and in some network, right? So, Jeff, do you want to say something on this? Anybody on the room, they want to share experience regarding management, tool, IP address management? All I can tell is that the customer of mine is using Infoblox, a big university, and using Infoblox helped them a lot to move, okay, because it was way easy. So when the tool exists, it's really a large rollout of, I mean, 20,000 students basically done in a couple of hours a day. You're the same experience from Jody, yeah.
I tried several products, and to be honest, I don't have shares of Infoblox, but that's the reality.
So it's basically telling that, yeah, an IPAM system that is able to support v4 and v6 is pretty important.
There's many key players in that space, and to be fair to the others, you know, Blue Cat is also extremely good.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to go down that list, there's a whole list of guys. It depends on the size of your enterprise, but at the end of the day, if you are in a v4-centric mode and you think an Excel spreadsheet is the way to go, please go to an IPAM tool. It will save you so much time.
Okay, Eddie.
Just a quick comment. I tried also Blue Cat and other tools. There are also open source tools.
Absolutely.
But the reality is they cannot compare.
Okay, anyway. Don't try to be there to select the best IPAM tool. It's not the situation here. So time is flying, so I would like to go to the last topic, and we will stop there, which is application. Then Mark wanted to do application. He's leaving, of course, right? So application, we know that Microsoft Exchange and maybe others and Apache runs over v6, but we know that, for instance, Skype, that's not. But what about ERP, the customer relationship management system? On what do you addressing this? What do you see? Talking to my partners. Oh, Eddie, want to say something? Jack, can you pass the mic?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to really validate the applications are going to work is to do client-side emulation, exactly the way that the apps that you're going to be running are deployed. So it means that real video sessions, real voice sessions, web transactions, do the client side, and then you could test the entire system. You know, the load balancer, the firewall, the web servers themselves, the application tier, the database tier, they all get hit indirectly by doing client-side emulation. And you can really validate things like, you know, what's the peak transaction rate that the entire data center can handle? How many concurrent sessions can it handle? What are some of the quality of experience metrics like time to first byte or time to last byte, where it gives you an indication of how long somebody's waiting in their browser. So we think that's one of the best ways to validate that your applications are going to work at scale.
Any comment from the room regarding application support? Yep. Jan?
Jan George from Go6 Institute from Slovenia. I think I will ask the question that probably everybody in the room would like to ask to Todd from Microsoft. Skype is holding back the IPv6 on mobile networks, and I would like, well, you bought Skype, and I would like to ask you, when the hell are you going to put that on IPv6? Thanks.
So you still have to remember that I'm the IT guy trying to support a large software development. But I am excited about Skype because they now have a ton more funding. And I think that's going to help them immensely. So when I go back, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to the Skype engineers and say, okay, what's the plan? How can we help you? Yeah.
William first. So William.
Yeah, if you have on your slide applications like Exchange and Apache, but don't forget about the applications you have in the second row. If you have Apache, then you have log files. You have got some log file processing. And I looked on the websites of a few vendors who do log file processing, and saw the newest information in their blog was, yes, we have realized there is IPv6 and we are thinking about implementing something. The same goes for spam checking, for virus checking, for email log file processing and things like this. So it could be that your web server or your email server runs IPv6, but all these applications from the second row do not, or do differently, or you don't know what they are doing. So there's a lot of testing to be done.
Okay, there's a question in the front.
It's rather a comment on the completeness of this list. There's something we talk about less, which is the huge amount of homemade applications, and those are really second citizen because, I mean, companies don't ask for help on their own specific environment. Some of them massively use the network, and it's really a pain. Some of them from time to time. And all of that needs really care, and especially from the whole community to them. Otherwise, they will just take the products off the shelf and let that go down, and it would be a pity, and IPv6 will not come at no cost.
Yeah, but on the other side, when I see I'm from software engineering background, so I work for those kind of homemade application. But what I see more and more is that applications are replaced by SAP, SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, Salesforce.com in the cloud. So, no, no. But so that's an issue. There is another question over there.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a comment rather than question, because I think you can put as many trials and labs and everything, but nothing replaces the live test, right? So how many people in the room did try to connect to IPv6 only SSID? Did everything work? Yes. No. Did you report it to vendor? Skype. So another business critical application that we found out was FaceTime.
FaceTime. Yep.
So that's also, you cannot realistically talk about IPv6 only deployment without FaceTime, right? So, and just try them out and fix them.
And by the way, Andrew was the guy who established with a couple of other people the V6 connectivity here. So he knows what he's talking about. So any further comment? Yeah,
yeah, I actually have a comment. It will take time. But understanding what works and what doesn't work is the way to get there. Homegrown applications are going to be a huge issue, but they don't all need to move forward. So it may look daunting that you have a huge set of applications, but not all of them needs to move forward. And that's very important as you put your strategy together to really capture this. Just because you can do it with V4, do you really, really need to move this to V6? V6 could be a greenfield deployment, could just use what makes sense in that context.
Okay, as we are really approaching the line of the time, so the V6 launch for today is finished. So I would just ask for every panel member here to summarize in one sentence or two, no more than two, what you want to say about your experience regarding V6 deployment and what kind of advice for the room. Starting with Jeff. Sorry to catch you by surprise.
The advice is, as one gentleman was pointing out is training, and it's been pointed out on all the slides. It's absolutely important. And one of the things that I hear is a lot of network professionals are expecting to get training. It's like, no, the network professionals need to go seek the training, whether it's going to be paid for by the company or out of their pocket. And there's lots of good resources by all kinds of entities that are represented even just here this week. So get the training yourself, by yourself, on your own. Seek it first, and you'll be ready.
Thank you. Ron?
I think for myself, the experience has just been a really fun ride because it's like re-experiencing what I did in the late 70s, early 80s as we were rolling out IP to replace NCP. Second time around, it's even more fun, but it's taking much longer. But it's still very interesting, trying new things. And I just think my guidance for everyone, if you haven't tried it yet, dig in. Don't be afraid to break some glass. A lot of people worry about, oh, what am I going to break if I turn on IPv6? I need a big plan and all that. No. Just start turning some things on. It really is, it's time. And so get on with it.
Actually, would say the same thing. Don't listen to the FUD out there. Don't, the time to move is now. And don't think you've got to touch everything to actually start deploying IPv6. Start small so you have success story and you can build and learn from what you actually chose to deploy first. So have your own best practices. Of course, seek out other people's best practices, but just go for it and start. The time to do this is actually now.
It's funny, we're all going to say the same thing. It's about starting now, maybe starting slow, but starting now, and get to know what you're deploying. It will be job security.
I'm gonna second on the starting now, and also as we all already talk about IPv6, it's not a layer 3 problem. It's a layer 7 to 9 problem. It's more of a political and organizational buy-ins and vendor management, and again, getting your vendors aligned. And yeah, it has nothing to do with with the technology itself. So start now.
Well, yes, I can only agree to that again and say start now. So the summary of all my customers' experience is that when you think about the journey, you see all these dangers that could possibly be coming up. And when you just start your journey, everything looks a lot easier and you just master everything that comes up your way. And maybe to summarize it with a statement from one of my customers, we had a meeting discussing network design. And finally, one of the network guys said, I haven't had so much fun in a meeting for a long time. So there's an opportunity. We have something new to master.
On my side, I will say that the experience of deployment of IPv6 within a very big administration like the European Commission, more than 20,000 users, is something extremely complicated. And because we were discussing before application management issue and so on, our IT people, I mean our IT manager and so on, they hesitate to start a process when they are not sure that everything will work safely in time with no problem of security and so on. Therefore, it is a real challenge. Maybe I will ask Ron to come to the Commission to help us, because I think he had the chance to have some real experience on limited space. And on our side, we didn't have this type of experience, and this is really a challenge. But I hope that with a project like the one we have launched and fund, for administration, we hope we'll progress rapidly now.
Permit me to stray a little bit, Eric. I'm probably getting myself into hot water with my company, but the upcoming IPv6 World Day, I'd like to put the offer out that if you have content that's going to be live over the internet, we'd love to hammer it for you. Real video, real web, live over the internet. If that's something people are interested in, definitely come contact me.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to address two thank you. One big thank you for you sitting in the room since 8 a.m. this morning with a couple of coffee and nice breaks. So congratulations for standing awake. And of course to my member of this round table. And you can count them, right? There are 6 of them. 1 bottle of champagne per version of IP, even if we skip the 5th. And I think they are in the exhibition at 7:30. So see you tomorrow. Thank you.